We're here at the LA Maritime Museum near the main channel of the Los Angeles Harbor.
At one time, this was the home of a huge fishing fleet and the birthplace of canned fish.
The packing plants here used to can hundreds of tons of fish every day.
People have been fishing the oceans for thousands of years, and at one point, it seemed that there was a limitless amount of fish.
But today we know that's not true, and there are already fisheries that are being overfished.
But how do we know when an area is overfished, and what does that exactly mean?
Well, let's go back to the workshop and find out.
All right.
So we've been doing some research, and we've discovered that scientists use the letter B to denote biomass. Now, biomass is the total weight of fish in a given population.
Now, researchers estimate this biomass by using reports from fishing boats, fish sold in ports, and direct observations of fishing fleets.
Scientists then estimate the biomass for a fish population that would result in the maximum sustainable yield.
Whoa. Let's back it up there, you know, that's my backing up. What is maximum sustainable yield? Because it sounds to me like a Jason Statham movie. Am I right?
It could be,
yeah.
So let's break it down.
Okay.
Yield is the total number of fish that are caught each year. Sustainable means the number of fish you can catch without endangering the population. So, maximum sustainable yield would be the total number of fish you can catch without harming the population.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, but my Statham flick looks sweet.
That's great, Tori, thank you.
Thanks.
So, we denote this term as B sub MSY, or the biomass that would produce maximum sustainable yield.
So you want the biomass to be greater than or equal to the biomass of the maximum sustainable yield.
But since these numbers are estimates, fishing managers like to set even higher thresholds for biomass so that they can account for error.
That's not even the whole story. Fishing managers want the population to be big enough so that more fish are reproducing each year than dying.
Yeah, so there's another number they have to take into account, and that number is fishing mortality rate. That number is represented by the letter F.
Now, fishing mortality is the number of fish that die each year. Now, this could be from old age, predation, even getting fished.
It also takes into account the number of new fish being born into the population each year.
Now, there's a threshold for F, and we label that F sub-threshold.
But in this case, we want fishing mortality rate to be less than the fishing threshold, so that there are more fish being brought into the population than dying each year.
Okay, so if we stay between these two constraints, we should be good, right?
Right. If the biomass is high enough and the fishing mortality is low enough, then the stock is not being overfished.
You know, Robert, let's just make a table, because these two conditions can get a little confusing, yeah? Oh, it's a good-looking magic table. So we already talked about the bottom right condition. And in that condition, the stock is not overfished and we are not overfishing. So that's completely sustainable. Now, the top left condition is completely opposite. The stock is overfished and we are overfishing.
And that's a recipe for disaster. That population is probably going to collapse.
Now, the other two take a little bit more thought.
In this condition, the population is okay, but overfishing is occurring. So we can label this overfishing.
And in this bottom one, the population is overfished, but the overfishing has stopped. So we'll call this one overfished. And in both of these conditions, the fishing is completely unsustainable.
So the idea is to keep the population large enough and to limit fishing so that the yield can be sustainable every year.
Isn't that great for the fish? But let's get back to my Jason Statham movie, huh?
The Jason Statham?
Maximum sustainable yield! Robert?